Hello and welcome to this special podcast by CleanCarbon.ai, which focuses on everything related to CBAM and CBAM reporting, which stands for Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. It's a European Union's climate policy that all the exporters from across the world who export carbon-intensive sector products and services like iron and steel have to comply with CBAM. I'm Shubham Thakur, climate journalist and CBAM expert. And in today's episode, we are joined by Monica Bachchan Duvvuri ma'am, founder and CEO of Metalogic PMS, which is India's premier intelligence platform for the steel, iron, mining, cement, and infrastructure sectors. Ma'am comes with years of experience in the sector, and Metalogic keeps tracking all the development, all the changes and evolution in the iron and steel sector of this country. First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for agreeing to do this interview. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. In this podcast, we will understand how CBAM is going to impact, or rather is already impacting Indian iron and steel industry. Ma'am, Metalogic promotes insights and a lot of summits. Your platform has been conducting a lot of summits, thought leadership programs on understanding iron and steel sector of this country. On a regular basis, you keep meeting with top minds of this country, particularly in the iron and steel sector. In your experience, ma'am, so far, how do you think this entire industry itself is undergoing changes, particularly from the lens of sustainability reporting?
So first of all, I tell you that there is a huge, massive changes going on. So if I compare it, what was industry, what like 15 years ago versus today, there is a tremendous, dramatic change. So the basic changes I tell you, and then I'll come on to the ESG. So when I came into this industry 15 years ago, the prices of commodity used to stay stable for 15 days or up to a month. But today the prices are changing like three times, almost 2 to 3 times in a day, which is a big shift. When we talk about the commodities, and then the companies were very bad at the promotions and advertising. Now you will see that most of the steel companies are having their Bollywood brand ambassadors, the advertising. You will see them in various television in the mainstream media, as well as they're participating as sponsors to advertise. The brand placements are taking place. Initially, people were excellent in technically, from the steel making point of view, but they used to be very shy. But today we have people who are now evolving. They're coming onto the stage, making presentations and sharing the knowledge, which is a very critical thing. So, as far as the changes are concerned, there are huge, huge change in the industry, how the industry is evolving right now. And then with this global exposure, global shift, the exports are going on. We are doing imports, and India is exposed worldwide. So, the presence is felt everywhere. Concepts have changed. And then if we talk about, the ESG, carbon reporting and all. So initially from the last 3, 4 years, we were only discussing about capturing carbon. But now, we are talking the next step, how to use those captured carbon, how to make derivatives, how to utilize those in different industries as a byproduct. And then we are also talking about carbon financing, credit systems. So this is how the industry is evolving, and it will continue to evolve.
Ma'am, sustainability is no longer just a fancy word, as the climate change is already impacting businesses, as I can understand from what you have said. Do you think it's impacting revenues, trade models, and businesses and the economic outcomes of players in the Indian iron and steel sector currently? I mean, climate change.
See, climate change is real because we know that globally the proportion of pollution created by steel industry is 7%, which is a big percentage. Sustainability, yes, it is not a fancy word, and I've always believed that whatever any company is producing, the real part comes in at the end life. You know how whether the product is having a recyclability element, or if it has to be, you know, dismantled or decomposed. It should be in a way that it should not harm the environment. Rather, it should be supporting the environment. So definitely, sustainability is and was and is and will never be a fancy word. It is a need of the hour, where the companies have really have to look into what needs to be done, and people are working over it.
Yeah.
People are technologically also, people are adopting new technologies. They're working over it. They're investing. They're exploring. Research are going on now. Each and every company having their own R&D department. So people are, evolving through the time.
Yeah, right. Ma'am, India has come up with green steel taxonomy, which was announced by Ministry of Steel a few months ago, which is going to define the greenness of the steel on the basis of emissions, lower the percentage of emissions associated with the production, higher the green steel certification is going to be. So higher the greenness of the steel. How do you think it is going to impact Indian iron and steel sector, particularly smaller players, the MSMEs?
So the Green Steel Taxonomy is a very great initiative by the Ministry of Steel, and we want to congratulate them for this effort. This is quite applicable for the companies who are exporting steel to the European countries or to the West, because of the norms they have come up with the CBAM. And of course, the green steel certification will also help the big players to work on their technologies to reduce their emissions, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Because if we see the total steel production, almost 50% of the steel produced is through the larger player, and we have only 6 or 7 players who are doing it. The rest, the percentage fall to the MSME. When we talk about the MSME, mostly the steel produced by the MSME get consumed within the country. So green steel taxonomy are not going to affect them quite large because they are not export oriented. However, of course, now the pressure is coming to reduce the carbon emissions. Most of the furnaces are DRI based or induction furnace based. So definitely the R&D is going on, and see, the element what comes with the MSME or any steel player is the cost of the technology. There's a huge investment which is involved. For big players, it is still, they are able to work on it, they're able to invest. But for smaller players where the margins are very thin, they have to really work on the, what kind of affordable technologies options we have. So this is where, for now, I don't see any kind of impact, any kind of, great change in MSME working as a taxonomy is concerned.
Okay. Ma'am, Indian iron and steel sector, if you see, is under three front pressure. First, you have this green steel taxonomy, then you have CBAM, and then fluctuating tariffs on the iron and steel sector. And we, being the second largest producer in the world after China, do you think it's a bit too much on the entire sector itself in terms of can it result in increased pricing? How does it impact the entire sector itself? Because it's dealing with three pressures. Of course, as you said, the green steel taxonomy is not mandatory as of now, but slowly it is going to become, right? Because the ministry is serious about that. How do you see this?
So the pressure is definitely there, but I would say, see, 80% of the steel produced in India get consumed within the country.
Okay.
So the percentage of export what we are talking is 15 to 20% only.
Mhm.
So the thing is we are very self-reliant. We have everything, whatever we are producing, we are consuming.
Okay.
So when we talk about CBAM, uh, companies who want to export, they have to definitely, comply with the rules and regulations. They have to work on their production technologies. But as far as domestic consumptions are concerned, I don't see there is any kind of pressure.
Okay.
Pricing pressure out there. Uh, it all depends what your customer wants. So, for example, if we take that example of Europe, Mercedes, they are now making cars which are fossil fuel free cars,
Mhm.
which means the steel which they are procuring, though those steels comes out from a process where the fossil fuels are not consumed. These kind of situation is very difficult to do in India because India is blessed with coal.
Okay.
So for the next 20, 30 years, we'll still be using coal.
Because we are highly
So
dependent on coal. Is that what you're saying, ma'am?
it is not that we are dependent. We are dependent because we are blessed to have the reserves. We
Mhm.
have huge coal reserves, and why not to exploit it and use it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But coal and decarbonizing, these two are different things
Mhm.
altogether. We have to see it in that way. Using coal sensibly with a proper technology, creating it in a coal gasification, syngas, will not create any kind of carbon into the environment. So, how sensibly you can use the coal is the question.
What is advisable, ma'am, according to you? Isn't there be a big shift towards green steel manufacturing? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be sustainability related matters which is going to impact your business.
See, first of all, we need to define green steel. Green steel means the root is green. When we are producing any kind of steel, the root has to be green. How the root can be green? If we are producing it through the scrap, then the scrap quality has to be good, that it is not create any kind of emission. Sometimes we get bad quality of scrap, sometimes we get good quality of scrap. So the consistency of getting a quality scrap is question number one. We have it. Then secondly, when we talk about the natural gas, we are import dependent on the natural gas. We are not producing; we are getting it imported.
Mhm.
Third is getting the hydrogen. Hydrogen, see, companies are still working over it, but in reality, it still looks like thoda sa time lagega usme.
Yeah.
It's still going to take, I would say, 5 to 10 years more because first of all, hydrogen is very inflammable. Then you need a proper infrastructure to transport, to carry, and then there is a huge risk involved in terms of human life safety because people who are working on in the factory in offshore, they know and they need to get trained also, how to use it, and then what kind of safety standard company has to follow. So
Yeah.
it is not just that you are getting hydrogen and you're using it, but the entire compliance, safety compliance, legal compliance, everything comes into the, and then the, of course, the investments and return on investment, everything come into the play.
Yeah.
So when we say green steel, don't think we are just talking about painted green steel. The green steel comes out from a very complicated process. It takes time, and I still suggest that this pressure, which I would say a little bluntly, it's being created by the West, uh, towards the developing economies like us and China, because they know that right now India and China are very progressive.
Yeah.
So this is a fear or this is an insecurity by the West. These are the compliances have been created. Fine, as in India will definitely evolve to this, but then I don't think so. We can ignore coal and जब तक आपका ये पूरा इकोनॉमिक्स डिफाइन नहीं होगा to use proper scrap. इतना scrap availability भी नहीं है. So that is again a question, and then the resources. जब तक ये चीजें आपकी proper policies नहीं आएंगी ना, तब तक ये नहीं होगा.
Absolutely. Then CBAM, now let's focus our shift more towards the CBAM a bit. It's going to become
Yeah.
mandatory from 2026, January 26, and it's going
Hmm.
to ask for embedded emissions on the number of
Hmm.
exports to European Union market from Indian
Hmm.
companies and companies across the world.
Hmm.
How do you see the readiness of India's secondary steel producers for any international compliance, particularly for CBAM? Are they ready to comply with such a policy? Because it's asking for a lot of data. How do you see that?
Say, asking for a lot of data means आपने जो स्टील बनाया है उसका प्रोसेस क्या है.
Hmm.
That is the data what they are asking, correct?
Hmm.
So if you are talking about secondary steel means the secondary route. Secondary route is scrap and sponge iron. Okay. So again, I'm coming to the my last answer. Your raw material to make steel. So secondary steel, if it's being produced 90 plus percentage of scrap, then definitely the companies are ready. But if the percentage varies where they are using 50% scrap, 50% sponge iron, then definitely they are not ready. And secondary industry is not dependent on exports.
Hmm.
They have a huge demand in India domestically because our thanks to the our current government, there are many infrastructure projects are going on, commercial projects, roads and highways are getting built. So already secondary steel is having a huge market in India. So exports are not bothering them at all. So even if they have to export under the CBAM compliance, some of them who are making steel from a better raw material through scrap, they will definitely export. They would not have any problem.
Um, uh, don't you think there is a lack of infrastructure or system for accurate carbon emissions data collection in India? How do we
Of
think, how do
course.
you think we can solve that? Because see, carbon emission,
See,
carbon accounting is particularly about data, right? And it also
hmm.
depends on the accuracy of the data. And for that, you need a proper system infrastructure in place. How do you think we can solve this challenge?
See, data is something where because right now the government is working on their own policies.
Hmm.
Data will not come until and unless we have a strong policies in hand. So that is the next step. So, and right now there are many areas which are so irregulated. We don't have data for those areas also. For example, collection of scrap. Government is still working on the data. The secondary steel units are working on steel scrap from more than 100, 200 years. We still don't have any data. And then we are talking about carbon data, emission data.
Yeah.
That is possible only for the bigger steel plants because they are adopting AI, they are adopting technology, digitization in their processes. But then tracking to what level? That is questionable. So, of course, there is a definite need to track numbers of emissions of each and every company, and there is a huge gap which we all agree. And ऐसा नहीं है people does not want to track it, but sometimes MSMEs they don't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
So
So
they
that,
need affordable partners, technologies which can solve their problems.
so there's lack of expertise, knowledge, and know-how about how to do this.
Yes, yes, yes. I would rather say, the conferences what we organize,
Yeah.
that also comes as a eye opener for many people because in our conferences we discuss what kind of technologies people should have, what they should adopt, and what all things are going on worldwide and how to be competitive. That is very important. So I always suggest MSMEs, you should come ahead, attend programs, get to know things, get tie up with the technology providers, and then see how things will move in terms of production and data management.
And I'm talking about decarbonization. what do you think, other than data collection, are the biggest challenges when it comes to making green steel transition in India?
Very simple. It is cost economics.
Mhm.
When we say decarbonization, we want to decarbonize the industry. We cannot decarbonize the industry until and unless we don't have the suitable technologies, we do not have suitable quality of raw material. Everything is interlinked.
Okay.
So if I want to decarbonize my steel operations, naturally I will go to the market and seek the best technologies we have, and then I will choose one of the technology, and then the question what as a steel maker I'm going to ask them is, if I'm adopting your technology, question number one, how much emissions will be reduced?
Okay.
Question number two, what will be my return on investment?
Mhm.
As simple as that, because the technologies are very expensive.
Yeah.
That is a primary concern of every steel maker right now. And you know what happens in India? We do not value the researchers.
Yeah.
So what happens? All the researchers go to West.
Yeah.
They develop the technologies there, and then we buy their technologies,
Yeah. Yeah.
which goes very expensive. So decarbonization challenges the return on investment, and of course the processes.
How do you think, ma'am, that, I mean, not just how, but what do you think could be the major changes in the next 5 to 10 years in the Indian steel sector? Like that could be like a major shift that you predict in the Indian iron and steel sector.
Yeah, I don't predict, but
I mean, yeah.
now since you are asking and how I'm seeing, companies are evolving, I see that they will be contributing more to the infrastructure projects if this the kind of pace right now it's happening. We will see a lot of maybe rebuilding of cities and building of new cities and new ports. A lot of infrastructure development will take place. Steelmakers will go wild with their imaginations and technologies, how to decarbonize their steel by adopting some of the renewable energies, and maybe some breakthrough technologies will come into the play. But one thing I'm pretty sure that they will continue to use coal,
Okay.
because even if it is a large steel maker or small steel maker, everybody want to own a coal mine. They will all go abroad and buy coal mines, if not in India,
Okay.
and they will source it here.
Now, ma'am, this is my last question. What
Yeah.
kind of preparedness do we need to make or to maintain the position of being a competitive player in terms of iron and steel sector production and exporting to the global customers? How can we maintain that competitiveness going forward?
Going forward, I think we need to export more. We need to, uh, you know, uh, I would say, go deep into the marketing processes internationally. We need to explore their international tenders to participate. For example, of course, the companies are participating in India in our own tenders by the government. For example, oil and gas, roads and highways. So going ahead, I think we need to go very wild and aggressive with our sales and marketing of steel
And should we not
in India
focus
and
on the
internationally.
and should we not focus, ma'am, on the greenness of the steel because international markets
Of course,
are
it will
looking.
come. It will come.
Right?
It will come naturally. So, if we are exporting, if I'm saying that we need to export, then definitely the compliance will come into the play. The CBAM and abhi to CBAM hai, what if tomorrow some other compliance will come?
Right. Yeah.
So the market is very dynamic, and we should be open to change.
Yeah. You're right.
We need to be open-minded. We need to be process-focused, technology-driven, and aggressive in our marketing strategies.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your time for talking to us on how Indian iron and steel sector is evolving over the period of time and what is the way forward. Thank you so much for sparing the time. I hope the audience has been able to learn a lot about the changing iron and steel sector. So ma'am runs, as I said during the introduction of her ma'am, that she runs her own platform called Metalogic. Please go to the platform. It tracks everything, all the updates, all the changes that is happening in the iron and steel sector. You go to the website and you can understand. If you want to understand, that's the go-to place. Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
you.
so much.